I'm Andrew Faust here at the Center for Bioregional Living, and I wanted to share with you some thoughts in regards. I've been doing a lot of public speaking and posting about solar and critiquing it, and what I wanted to share with you is what are the appropriate ways for us to begin to think about what can I advocate and get behind when it comes to appropriate uses of solar, right? So behind me, you'll see our household scale grid-tied solar array. Now, I'm not just going to ubiquitously say that household arrays are an appropriate use. What I will start out with is a little bit more of a background on how we approach thinking about an appropriate application for photovoltaic and solar electric at a home scale, and then I'll give a few examples of scaled up appropriate uses of it. In this instance, at home scale and at a community scale, two things need to happen first before you put in your solar panels. One, thinking about how to not use electricity for a vast array of activities in the household system that right now rely entirely upon electricity and are often in grid-tie systems, met by a larger array of panels than are needed if we think about first doing some things without using electric. Here would be primary things that don't make sense to do with electric. Heating your home in the winter time, heating hot water. These are two activities that when we do them with photovoltaic, we end up with an inordinately large solar array in order to meet the level of juice that gets drawn when a electric hot water heater or when a electric home heating system comes online. What we want to think about with solar is what are the appropriate uses of it. Here they are, and you'll find that if we do these things with it, we get a much more reasonable size set of panels, and if we were to go off-grid, battery bank and inverter. Now, having lived off-grid for 8 years, I learned that the best things to do with solar, with a reasonable size system, are lighting, are things like playing music, using a computer, things that require low energy like fans. Some amount of DC direct makes sense in a home off-grid system when we're talking about things like a chest freezer. You'll find that most off-grid homes buy a nice quality chest freezer because it requires much less electric to do a cooling job. The other system that we want to think about is home design in a way that cuts down on the need for energy input and retrofits. These are going to be things like the standards that you're familiar with. Better insulation, better orientation towards the south, sunrooms and protective porches to give the house clothing, as we call it in home design. These do quite a bit to make your home more comfortable in the shoulder seasons and in the wintertime, and they also do a lot to cut down on the need of electricity to do work like keeping your home lit by increasing natural light that comes into the living space. The proper things to do with solar are lighting, electric, loads that don't require vast quantities and 220 of electric right at the point of use. On-demand hot water heaters run off of electric make absolutely no sense. HVAC, geothermal run systems off of photovoltaic make little to no sense. Blown hot air is a very low quality form of home heating. The best form of heat, hands down, is radiant heat that comes from the sun through solar thermal evacuated tubes that goes right into the floor of your home and is circulated passively through thermosiphon. The ability to bring anaerobic digesters into the mix is critical to moving away from propane reliant alternatives to what many people are doing with these net zero homes, where we'll find that in fact, instead of running your heater or running your stove off of propane or natural gas, which makes better design sense right now than running your stove or your hot water heater off of photovoltaic and electric when you look at the carbon footprint and the ecological impact of a huge array of solar panels. In contrast to transition technologies, we will begin to see that the two that need to be brought into the mix for the American landscape are primarily solar thermal hot water integrated with anaerobic digesters for home-based water and heating systems. And what we will find is at a community scale, solar needs to be contextualized with a budget where we begin to say, what's the maximum amount of demand in this total population, and how do we begin to first diminish demand and then build out a set of systems that meet appropriate scale local demand loads, not solar farms that are grid tied and end up sending electricity downstate or to far reaches through a ill-equipped centralized grid for the way DC and variable energy comes into it. Andrew Faust, Center for Bioregional Living, a bit of a piece for you on energy budgeting and appropriate uses of solar electric. Thanks for watching.